Alright, let's talk flash and how it can immediately improve your photography. Let's jump into it. So the first one that I want to talk about is the Godox V862. Granted, this is an in model for Nikon. You can get them for all different brands. I know specifically you can get Canon, Sony, Olympus maybe, Fuji, pretty sure. Basic speed light. You can't go wrong with it. I think it's $179. The main reason for the expense, though, is that you can actually use it as a master and a slave, to where you can basically, if you have multiple lights, you can control them with this. So instead of having a trigger on your camera and then this on top of that trigger, and it's just kind of a bunch of mess on your camera. Awesome light. Specifically, you really just want to use this on camera, but you can use this off camera. So what we typically do, a lot of times I'll have, either the V1, the Godox V1. Differences of these, you got a round head and a rectangle, and this one here I like to use a lot of times on camera. It creates a little bit more diffused light. We use the MagMod system. You put the nice diffused mag sphere on top of this. Right, you have to put one of these bad boys. Now, this one you really had to kind of stretch to put on, but I'll show that in a different video. With that system itself, it gels and different kind of modifiers that you can put on here. So yeah, back to my point. So we a lot of times will put these V862s, like if we're doing an event like a wedding, like a reception, we'd actually put these up by the DJ or in a corner. You can pop them up into the ceiling so you can create some light for you in the reception hall. A lot of reception halls are dark. You can do multiple of these, right? And then you have your little trigger or a flash on top of your camera to where you can control them all. Yeah, so that's that one. Sometimes we'll actually turn it to where you're actually going to be facing that light, to where you get that more of a backlight. Creates a little bit of a burst of light if you want to cover up like a DJ, something like that, or a corner that's got a bunch of mess in it that you really don't want anybody to see. It really helps to kind of showcase that light versus seeing the other stuff that's there. So yeah. So these two, great options. $179 for this one, and I think $250 on this one here. I'll have links in the description. I've been trying to get the affiliate link to work, but if not, it's cool too. All right, so the next option up, kind of going from kind of least expensive to most expensive, which I actually don't have the most expensive light that Godox offers as of right now, but I don't actually have a use for it based off of how I do my work. So the next one is the AD200 by Godox, or the Flashpoint Evolve 200, and it's all on the R2 system with Godox, or Flashpoint, depending on where you buy it. So Godox you can buy off of Amazon or other retailers, and then Flashpoint is specifically through Autorama, but it's all made by Godox. Flashpoint is just the Autorama's labeling, and I actually have one of each of these. So this is a fantastic light. It fits in my pocket, and a lot of times what we will do, if we're not trying to overpower the sun or anything like that, just an extra, just kind of a pop of light, we'll put this, kind of fidgeting, or fumbling, you're going to put this bad boy on here, and then you can put your big modifier or a small modifier, and then put this on a light stand. Then you have your off-camera flash. Freaking awesome. Not a lot of light though, but it packs a punch when you need it. Full power is, I was shocked the first time I used it. I forget how much these go for, but again, I'll have them in the links in the description of the video. And this thing is pretty sweet. We actually just got this. I think it's pretty stout. So yeah, AD200 or Flashpoint Evolve 200. Excellent light. This can also be used on like a stage next to a DJ. You pop even more light if you need to. You put a modifier on it to create more of a distributed, distributed light. All right, here's the AD200 Pro. So the reason for the Pro is more consistent lighting as far as color of lighting. So sometimes with the AD200, the previous version, you would get different colors when you fire off the flash, depending on how much power you're using, and this one gives you more of a consistent flash color. It's a beautiful light. Again, packs a punch if you need it, but mostly you're not going to be using this for overpowering the sun, as what people call it. I like to call it that, but you're really not really overpowering the sun. You'd be like blinding people and set them on fire. So we put this one usually on here. I don't use this one as much. This is the 8200, just the normal. This is the new Pro. I use the Pro a lot more now than I use the old one. Of course, right? You buy new equipment, you're going to use that equipment. But it usually stays on this round flash bracket. All right. It's a great light. You can put all kind of modifiers based off of whatever system as far as modifiers go. I use the Bowens because on the other lights that have the Bowens mounts that came with it, I'll get to that here in a second. Ooh, that almost dropped on the floor. That would not be good. All right, next up is the workhorse. So I'm going to kind of jump to where I first started. When we first started, of course, we used speed lights, and that really was beautiful because you didn't overpower your subject, or I didn't overpower the subject, so it was more spot on. It was like 5 years ago when we first started doing, off-camera flash, and that's really where we took off as a business. So my wife and I run our business, and it's challenging. That's in a different. We'll talk about that in a different post or video. So if you haven't done so already, I know this is my first video, but if you at least like the content, if you could like the video, subscribe if you could, because I'm going to have a lot more content. We're going to do a lot of different tutorials, talk about gear, talk about my experiences with crop sensor cameras versus full frame, and also I want to talk about how to interact with your client. Or your model or your subject. I'm naturally introverted, so I've really needed to come out of my shell for this business. Thanks to my wife, I've been able to do that. It just took a lot of work. So I go on tangents, I apologize. But so we're going to go to the first monolight that we purchased. Is the 8600 or Flashpoint Explorer 600. This thing is a beast. I've actually had this one now probably 3 years, and I think people were crazy when I first started with them because everything online was like Pro Photo and Ellen Chrome, and this when I first started, I couldn't afford any of that. Like, it's crazy expensive. I have broken one of these though. You gotta be really careful with these. These bulbs are $100 a piece. Anyway, I think this unit itself is the TTL, which I probably shouldn't have bought the TTL. They did have a Black Friday sale, and this was like $300. We have two of these. Anyway, this thing has basically made our business, this bad boy right here. And it's just basically trying or ensuring that you are creating something that pops. We like to create images that pop out of the screen. Almost like a 3D effect, if you will, even though it's not really a 3D effect. So this light, I've actually used full power a couple of times when it's like a super, super bright sunny day. Yeah, probably shouldn't have bought TTL model, but hey, can't go wrong if you need TTL, right? But you can, because the way that I operate now, I don't need it. There are some techniques where you can. This is a kind of more simplified method where your light's a little bit farther away. But again, we'll go through tutorials, kind of show people how a difference is the way you can use one light, two lights, three lights if you wanted to. I like to have a diversified kind of option as far as power. As you've noticed, I have the 862 speed light, got the V1 speed light, which has the round head. We have the 200, the 8200 Pro. We have the 600 Explorer, and then the other option is our new light that we just purchased when we got the 8200 Pro, is the Godox 8400 Pro. This thing is awesome. I love it. The color of light is just fantastic. You definitely have to. You can definitely see. Man, that's kind of black in there. Let's turn this bad boy on. Oh yeah, look at that. Little fan going on. Beautiful light. I can even just put that up here. Look at that, modeling light. Freaking awesome. Turn that off. All right. So this is now my favorite light. $650, I believe, or $629. flashes are not cheap. Like monolights are not cheap. And then you got to buy the trigger and just anyway. So any given time, I'll be using the Explorer 600 8400 Pro. 8400 Pro is my new go-to with the 200 Pro. These are just always in the bag, always going with me. We always take an extra light just in case, because you never know. It's one of the biggest things, you never know. I wanted to show y'all on screen share here some examples of how one light can impact an image. Then I'll go into kind of showing a little bit more usage of that one light, and then show you some examples of two light setup. This first image, maternity session, beautiful, beautiful couple, great scene setup that we had. And I wanted to make sure that I just separated them from the background. That's the key to this, just making sure that you separate your subject from the background. Just makes a huge difference. Granted, you do that already with the lenses that you choose. Like if you're shooting primes, you know, granted I don't shoot super wide open all the time. So in this situation, this light set up right over here on the left side, 36-inch beauty dish, I believe. I can get you that if anybody has any questions on it. And I had it not super high, but always kind of just shoot to where the light's natural. I don't like where, if you know, it's just a personal preference, but if you have it low and then shining up, that's not really a natural light. And so people say, oh, you use flash, blah, blah, like it's not natural lighting. Well, lighting is natural. Anyway, that's a tangent. So this one here is a one light setup. The light was about right here, just, you know, firing down this way. I'll do more tutorials kind of showing like on location what the settings are, how I'm shooting it. We're definitely going to be doing that. I've always loved to do it. All right, so this couple here, same setup. Explorer 600 with about a 36-inch octabox on this one. But the difficulty with doing this on a wedding day is you're carrying your camera. You're carrying, of course, I always carry two cameras. Then you have your light. Setting that light up, getting them in position, doing this all yourself. Thankfully, I did have an assistant that day. She actually helped me with, you know, with the dress, making sure that, you know, hair wasn't wild, which I now see on this image here. That I should have kind of cleaned up a little bit of that hair right in there, but you can see it is backlit by the sun. The sun's going down in the background. This light actually was originally to the right of her, and I didn't want to broad light her face, so I moved it to the left side. Now, granted, I probably should have, you know, in hindsight now, I should have lowered the highlights on his jacket a little bit, so that your eye goes to her face, which mine just naturally goes there because it is the brightest part of the image. But you just can definitely see the difference versus exposing for just them in that situation. The back of them would just be blown out white, so you could make sure that you expose the front of them. So you wouldn't actually have any of this color, this yellowish, orange color coming through here. You get a little bit of that sunset coming in. And again, the light is up, coming down. More natural. This one here, I actually did light was right in here, and of course all you have to do is Photoshop that out, clone it out. There's actually a little bit of light coming off of you can actually see like right in here. You can actually see there's a little light on him, and that's actually coming from the other light that's the stadium lights. So you can use that to your advantage. So you get a little bit of light right here, and there's some right on the back of his neck there too. And you can actually see the turf. It was the second time that I had been on a field with turf. It's wild. And when you get down in here in shorts, like that stuff kind of eats you up a little bit. Anyway, next image, one light setup. But I wanted to make sure that the lighting was coming in to where the shadowing would be right on the side of her, on her face. Because you always want to kind of make sure that you keep some shadowing to where you see definition. Not a lot of light, just a little bit of extra to help that. Same thing with this one. I think this is just a tad of light because there's barely a little shadow right back behind him that you can see. The mother of this senior just loved this image. It's actually printed 30 by 40 above their fireplace. Freaking awesome. So this here, great example where you can overpower the sun. The flash is set up on the right side. I actually had to shoot this full power, and it's probably one of the most difficult shots that I've ever taken, just because of the elements that we were in. We wanted a cotton field. This is the natural sky. This is the way it was that day. And that's actually the way I wanted to capture it. I didn't want to have to put in a different sky, and if you expose for that, some things are going to be darker than others. So the definition that you see down in here, with the stems, with their clothing, their faces, all that would have just been just tons of shadow. their faces specifically, you wouldn't have any of this. So all of this here would just be in shadow. Granted, there's a little bit of kind of over lighting on his face, a little bit less definition for the structure of his face, but still, one of those images that is going to always be there, that they will cherish, and that my wife loves this image. And at first I was like, man, you're crazy. Like, we enter for print competitions, and I was like, no, you're crazy. Like, this is not going to do well. And surprisingly, had the highest score of any of the other images that we entered. So now we're going to get into 2 light setups. So this one here, both lights backlight. Okay, so one of them was kind of up 8 feet, had a softbox on it. And so one on the left, one on the right, just enough to where I get a little bit of light down the backside of him on the left side, to where he could capture that chalk as he clapped his hands, getting ready to lift. Another super impactful image. The client loved it, and we love it. Again, this is all about making your images impactful. Last one. So the 8200 in the back actually ended up going full power, but luckily it was far enough back to where it was perfect. And I think some issues with print competition on this one is it's just too much light behind him, just kind of over at the bottom here, just a little bit too much light. But hey, beautiful image. I love it. They love it. It was actually raining in this situation. The light captured the front of them was on the right side of them, so about right up in here. I think I had it a little bit high. It may have been like right here, I believe. I had to have an assistant that day because it was just a little windy. I didn't have any sandbags in this situation because we just ran out there capturing it in the rain. The bride is like, my hair, like, oh man, let's get it, it's beautiful. So one of my favorite shots, brand new venue, beautiful, impactful image. Not everything's gonna be perfect. However, sometimes things go wrong. You just kind of have to go with it. This situation, that backlight, full power, but you know what? As Peter McKinnon would say, banger image. It's my first video. If you made it this far, thank you. If you'd be so kind, like and subscribe. I'm going to have some more content show up every week. Be safe out there, and thanks for watching.